Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on African Confessions. The following message, it was sent to us by one of our DM sister, and it reads like this. I walked out of that hospital with nothing in my mind but anger. Even now, whenever I think about that man, he messed up my life big time. I will never forget that day when I lost everything. This was not just a job that I had, but it was my life, years of my life. It was reduced to nothing because of what had happened between me and the hospital manager. I had given that hospital everything that I had. I never complained if they asked for me to even go on double shifts, and I would even work during public holidays. I was always at work, and I loved what I used to do. Being a nurse was everything for me, and as a single mother, this was my only source of income. I thought that by dating the hospital manager, this gave me even much more security. He was once a close friend of mine, and we started dating when I started working at the same hospital where he was the manager. But the guy was the one that got me fired simply because I said, I don't want to do this anymore, to sleep with a married man. Let me find a man whom I will call whenever I want to, because dating that former friend of mine who was also my boss at work, it was a bit tricky. First of all, he was someone's husband, and there were nights when I would be alone, feeling lonely, wanting to speak with the man that I loved, but I could not do that because he would drop my calls. Then tomorrow at work, he'll be like, why don't you understand that I'll be with my wife? Do you want my wife to divorce me? So I was just like a little plaything. So the mistake that they fired for me, it was really small. Like the guy, he had been waiting for me to make a very simple mistake, so small that any nurse that will be listening to my confession will know that this was a biased decision that they made against me. It was a file that I just placed in a wrong tray during a shift change. That was it. A file, guys, in the wrong tray. And no medication was skipped, no patient was harmed. Another nurse corrected it with minutes. In a normal hospital, maybe it could just be a warning, a conversation, and not about protocol. Mistakes like that every day happen if you are in an overcrowded ward with half the staff you actually need. But mine, to my surprise, the person who found this little mistake was this woman that hated me with all of her heart and mind. And she wrote everything up, not because it was a mistake, because it was me. Maybe I was dating the man that she loved. I had been on the wrong side of management for a long time because we were fighting behind the scenes because of what I had told him, that I did not want to date him anymore. I was someone that was well spoken. I will speak when staffing was unsafe. I would refuse to sign off things that were not true. I would even ask questions about people that I did not seem to like, but I would ask them the truth. So these were some of the problems, and they did not want me at that workplace. But for a long time, the man who stood by me was the man that I was dating, who was our boss, by the way. So when I started dating another guy, he was hurt by the way that I was dating that man. He would come and he would collect me at work. The moment that I knew that it was over, when I was called, when he told me that this time around he was not going to stand in my corner because I belonged to another and I had done things that was gross negligence. When my former lover, the manager, was sitting across from me, he was reading a policy as if He just wanted to hurt me, like he had been waiting for that for a very long time. Halfway through, when he was reading the policy for me, I realized something painful. The outcome, he had written it before I had even walked into that room. This was not about patient safety. It was about him trying to hurt me in a way that no man could have ever hurt me before. So the moment when he said that this is a termination of your employment, I started to feel dizzy, my blood pressure. I looked at the papers, at the signature line, and then I signed everything. All that I could think of was after everything. So this is how it ends. I even looked at him. He looked away. He did not want to face me directly into my eyes. It was a very painful part when I was heading home, thinking about what he had told me. He did not want to mess up his reputation simply because we once slept together. I then closed that chapter and I started staying at my mother's house. So the disadvantage was that I was my mother's firstborn that she had when she was a bit younger, and I never knew my dad. She got married again, and then she got married again to the third stepdad. So she had kids with 3 different men, and we were now staying at my third stepdad's house. But my mother and her husband, they had moved back to the village, and we were staying in the city, even though we shared the same mother. But when it came to the properties, like the kids, they made sure that we knew that these properties, they belonged to their father. So when I moved in with my kids, I got a room, but like we were overcrowded. It was a lot of us. So I had some money that I had saved up. I counted my savings slowly, and then I started to try to do budget, but I saw that one way or the other, this money would be finished very soon. So I wanted to start a little business. That is how the idea of buying a shipping container came to me. Like back in those days, like you would find people going to the internet cafe for literally to do everything, because it was not everyone that had internet. So I thought of it as a good business plan to start a small internet cafe, bought some printers, computers from game, a photocopying machine, CV typing, and this was what I could do so that I can be able to get back on my feet again. When the container was delivered, I was so happy because I thought that if I can manage the first one, then I will try it again in another location. In the beginning, everything was working out just like the way that I thought it was going to work out. Since I was doing everything on my own, being helped by my siblings here and there, like this other sister of mine, she understood me, so we used to work together. It is so sad that I have her blood in my fridge as I'm speaking with you right now. My sister, she would always open early, even if I'll be fast asleep. She would go open the container, and we closed late. Customers, they would come because they used to go to the city to go and make these CVs, but now we had everything in the location where I was staying. The money, it came slowly and painfully, but it was okay. That was when I was tempted by a Nigerian man. I had broken up with that other guy who was single, and the problem with him was that he loved women. I found out that I was not his only woman in his life, and like I was a side chick. He had his main girlfriend, and it really hurt me. I found out through one of his friends, and I broke up with him. So I've been looking for love, and then that was when the Nigerian guy came into the picture. When he came around, we did not start by dating. This guy, he was a smooth operator. He did not even look dangerous at all. I think that this was the mistake that I made when I saw him so smooth. and he was smiling at all the times, and he kept on complimenting me for the business that I had started. He said that he also wanted to start the same business, and he would ask me normal questions whenever he would come around. We became good friends. He would always give me more money than the services that I would have done for him. And casually one day he asked if he could use the container at night to store items temporarily. He told me that he had a shop in town where there was someone that fixed laptops and cell phones for him. And I said, okay, it's fine, since they had broken into his shop once, and at our house there was a lot of security. And I said, okay, it's fine. And he said that he was going to give me money. And when it was time for him to pay me after 7 days, he gave me more money than I could have ever made in a week. That amount of money that he gave to me, it was quite a lot. So he kept on giving me all of this fast money, and I was not even doing anything, just storing the laptops and the phones. So things started changing. He would bring maybe a bag and we'll just put it to the side. So I just thought that maybe the bag had some cell phones, and I did not know that there were drugs at first, that he was living at my place. But I started to know, because the money that he was giving for me, it was a lot. And one day I sat with him down and I asked him why was he keeping drugs in my container, but I was already into him, by the way. He then said that this was the safest place for him. I asked him what kind of a job he did. He told me that he pushed drugs. I said, okay, it's fine. Is it dangerous? And he said, no, it is not dangerous. Look how much money I've been making. He already had bought some properties around Joburg and he was renting out those houses. And he started giving me more money. Now that I knew, I started paying for my bills. My debts, they vanished overnight. At our house, groceries suddenly filled cupboards, and I was not even concerned about how much I would give to my siblings to go and buy whenever I would send them to buy groceries. My life changed. I used to count coins regularly, but now I never cared about change anymore. There was this other small bag that I had. If I would go and buy something, I did not even count the change. I'll just dump it into that small bag and use it later on. For the first time since losing my job, I would sleep without panicking, sleep without thinking what life was going to give to me next. So I really did not care that this man, he was using my container to transport his drugs. With money came a lot of things that I never imagined. I opened a small business, but through a franchise, I started to sell batteries, even to repair dead batteries. One thing led to another. I now had a salary. To my surprise, one day I just went to the bank. There was something that I needed to fix. So during the conversation that I was having with the person that was assisting me with my account, then said to me, you know, ma'am, I still remember, she was a white woman, and she said, I see that you are earning nice money here. Do you know that we are having this promotion? If you have any property that you have in mind that you would want to buy, you can bring it. And then there are people in another department that can take you through the process. But I think that you can qualify because your account is looking so smooth and green. Everything is balanced. And I said, really? I had never even thought about it. So I then returned back to my Nigerian boyfriend. I told my Nigerian boyfriend about what that teller at the bank had told me. And then the guy said, no, don't show the world that you are getting so much money. Relax for now. You can even try to get a house for cash. Don't do this, what you want to do now. So, because I was having money, sometimes he would deposit some of this money into my business bank account. I was full of money at all the times, and I just wanted people to see me that it is I have arrived. And this guy, he was telling me not to show the world that I was having a lot of money, yet he drove beautiful cars. I wanted the same, and I did not listen. That property was really a revenge against the guy at the hospital who got me fired, against the spirit of poverty, so I said. And I wanted everyone to see that I had made it. And then I bought a car on top of that. And then that was when SARS noticed, because I was not even auditing anything in my company. Like, I did not even have any business mind at all. I will use the money in my business for my personal spending. I would go on a vacation, forget my personal bank card, or use my business bank cards. I really did not even had any idea about money. I had never handled a 1 million rand business ever in my entire life. So the letters would come, I would ignore. Emails will pop up, I would ignore. Requests, I would ignore. For I could not even explain anything. I could not fake nothing. That was when I hired an accountant who said, "Ma'am, you are messed up. You are supposed to pay your tax. You have not been doing anything. You have not been declaring anything." And I was full of panic. I did not want to go to prison. I returned back to my Nigerian guy. By then, we were not dating because I was dating a South African guy. And then this guy said to me, "If that is the case, then let me take you to Nigeria." And I agreed to go to Nigeria. I went to Nigeria before I had gone to sort out everything at SARS. So even though I really did not want to go to Nigeria, but I had to do it to save myself. When we arrived in Nigeria, I was taken to his village, but we first started by staying in Abuja. Then we drove, I think, for nearly 4 hours, driving out of Abuja until we arrived at this other village where he grew up. We slept at his mother's house. The next morning, we traveled for 30 more minutes. We went into the forest where we arrived at this other shrine. I remember being told to remove my shoes and not to say any words, not to ask any questions. And when we got there, I was then given some worms that I was supposed to eat. And they were testing me. If I was going to vomit, then it meant that the priests, ancestors, they were not going to assist me. Then I was allowed to enter into the shrine, and then that priest started to assist me. I was told to write down the names of the people that I loved and the names of the people that I hated, and I did as I had been instructed to do. I was then given some charms and some instructions, and I was told that when I arrived back home, when I would go to SARS, I was supposed to buy first a dress or a t-shirt, a jean, whatever. Then I washed them with a juju that I would have brought with me from Nigeria. We returned back to South Africa, and I bought a dress, and then I washed it, even though I had never worn it before, with those juju charms. I then went to SARS. When I got there, to my surprise, I was able to negotiate even without my accountant, who had told me not to make the mistake of going all by myself. Indeed, there was something that I had to pay, but at least the threat of being taken to court, everything was settled there on that very same day. And what surprised me when I went to SARS, like, there was a big queue, but the way that everything was moving, and I was made to jump the queue by mistake, and I found myself inside, even though there were people that were saying that when you are outside of the building queuing like this, then you will have to come back tomorrow in order for you to get help. But within, I think, an hour, everything was sorted out, and I was celebrating. And when you start to use juju, you know that using charms, it has a sort of addiction because you know that you are protected by these Nigerian gods. So I started to think about all the people that I hated, the hospital manager, some of the people that had laughed at me. So then I returned back to Nigeria. When I returned back to Nigeria, I had one thing and one thing in mind. I wanted to bewitch the hospital manager that got me fired, and it happened. And the more the juju that I used, the more that my child started to get sick. To solve this, I returned back to Nigeria to consult to hear what was happening. The Nigerian healer said that I was supposed to get my brother running mad in order for me to stop my child from ever getting sick again. I said, okay, it's fine. And my brother started to get sick. He started running mad. People, they said that it was drugs, but it had nothing to do with drugs. It was because of the juju that I had been using on my brother. When my brother passed away, I started to see his spirit. I ran away from that mansion that I had bought that had gotten me into trouble. I got another house again through the bank where I am staying, but it is a smaller townhouse because I'm scared of big spaces ever since I saw the ghost of my brother after he had passed away. I then returned back to Nigeria to tell the healer that this was what was happening to me. And then the healer instructed me to buy a coffin. Upon my return, I then bought a coffin which I keep in one of the other bedroom. I stay in a 3-bedroomed apartment. Then the other room, I do not use it. I only go in there to do some rituals to protect myself. So I am always doing those rituals. And I also got that manager killed. He died because of an accident. This is the story of my life. I never thought that I will end up staying with a coffin in my house with blood in my fridge. This blood, my brother, I had it taken. My sister was sick. So my sister got so sick that at the hospital, they were not offering her any kind of help. So she was being treated at home. Since I trained as a nurse, I just took an injection and I drew her blood just like I had been instructed by the Nigerian healer. I stocked it up, booked him. He came to South Africa. We did the rituals and it stays where it is. Even if one opens up my fridge, you will not see it, but it will be there. It protects me as well. Yo, dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to me by one of our sister right there. Strange things indeed. They do happen in this world. Let us talk with him in the comment section.